Trial of George, Keeper of the Time Tower. Part 3, March 21st. The clock reversal day. Mostville frozen in half-second before midnight. Time was no longer linear. The moment George turned the last key, the tower exhaled. A deep, ancient breath that no human throat could replicate. It was as if the very idea of time had become fluid. In the streets above, shadows walked backwards. Ink unspilled itself from letters. Forgotten memories whispered through the wind like echoes from a book that was never written. In the hidden chamber, Leo stood completely still, as if listening to something beyond hearing. "It's speaking again," he murmured. George nodded slowly. "What does it want this time?" Leo's face darkened. "It wants to begin again. Not just time, history. The tower doesn't just record the past. It chooses which version survives." The walls vibrated. Thin lines of golden light etched across the stone, forming symbols from a language that no one had spoken in thousands of years, or possibly hadn't spoken yet. George approached the center. The heart of the tower was spinning now. Faster, louder. It began to hum a note that made blood feel thick in the veins. He placed his hand on the face of the clock. A sudden silence, then a whisper, not in sound, but in thought. "You have passed the trial, but the verdict is not yet complete." Suddenly the chamber twisted. Reality buckled inward. George and Leo were pulled through a seam in space, torn between seconds. When they landed, the sky was orange. The city was wrong. Mostville, but older, or perhaps never yet built. A crowd stood ahead, robed figures watching silently. Each one wore a timepiece around their neck, ticking out of sync with each other. An elder stepped forward. Her eyes were like the towers, hollow and eternal. "You've entered the chronoscape," she said. "Here, time is choice, and the choice is yours. Reset or remember." George looked to Leo, then to the sky, where the tower now hovered like a moon. "What happens if we reset?" The elder smiled. "Everything begins again. The trial, the city, even you. But this time, someone else may win." "And if I choose to remember?" George asked. "Then you carry the weight. Forever. You become the next architect, guardian of all timelines." George closed his eyes. The silence stretched, but silence no longer meant stillness. Within it was thunder, voices, entire lives. When he opened his eyes, he said only one word: "Remember." At once, the tower's shadow fell across the chronoscape, and Mostville, all versions of it, trembled. Time did not start over. It folded. The Trial of George, Keeper of the Time Tower. Part Demean. March 20th. 7 days after the trial, somewhere beneath the streets of Mostville, the tunnels breathed. George walked in silence, his coat trailing dust behind him. He held a small brass key in his left hand, the last of the 7. Each key had once belonged to an engineer, a guardian, a dreamer. Now they were his, not by theft, but by purpose. Mostville slept above him, unaware. The Time Tower, once a monument, now a presence, stirred once more. He reached a hidden chamber beneath the old library. The walls pulsed faintly, as if veins ran through the stone. In the center stood the heart of the tower, a clock without numbers, its hands spinning backward. "You're early," a voice whispered. George turned. It was the boy, Leo. His eyes glowed faintly, a shimmer of starlight in his pupils. "I had to come," George said. His voice was low, rough from disuse. "The tower isn't done with us." Leo nodded. "It remembers. It wants to begin again. Time has always been a circle, not a line." George inserted the final key. The walls shuddered. Far above in the courthouse, Judge Thorne paused mid-sentence. The wind outside stopped. Birds froze mid-flight. A ripple passed through the clocks across the city, and for a moment all of them ticked backward. The tower was waking up,